Welcome back to LivAnimated.com. Let's learn something new. What we're going to be working on now is mocap to rig. The last thing we worked on was skinning and rigging up the clothes to our character, re-exporting that FBX, getting it into Unreal, and making sure that that export worked. What I'm going to show you now is how to get motion capture data onto the rig. I'm not one to use a third-party program. There are programs out there like Motion Builder that are excellent programs to do this within the production phase of working on things. I actually have used a way to get mocap onto the rig. I don't think that I'm the only person that found this out. I'm not sure, but it was something that I kind of just worked on. I didn't see any good tutorials on getting mocap data on. Everything kind of took you into Motion Builder and then back into Maya, or you just stayed in Motion Builder. A lot of other things used Human IK, which is a part of Maya, which is pretty worthless. I can only recommend using that if you ultimately do not know and are unwilling to learn how to rig a character. That is one way of it rigging a character for you, but I do not recommend animating in it, only because it is untrustworthy. It doesn't work all the time, and is not the best way to be utilized within production in any means at all for any project. I've used it before only because time was of the essence and work needed to get done. All that work ended up being throwaway work anyway, but we needed to get something done for the time being. And it did help out in that regard because there was just so much work that needed to be done. But it still got thrown away, and we had to do it over the correct way anyway. So Human IK is the other thing you'll find that people use tutorials for. It's worthless. Don't even do it. So I'm going to show you how to do it within the tools of Maya itself. It works. I use it all the time. I try to show people it as much as possible because it'll alleviate a lot of stress for getting your mocap data onto your rig. This will work with any rig. This will work with any mocap data from what I've experienced so far. And it's something that I kind of taught myself to do, and I utilize it daily if I'm using motion capture data for anything. So let's get right into it. It's going to be very quick. What we're going to do is open up our Maya scene. We want to load in our character that we were working with. Again, we're going to take this all the way through the full process of getting it back into Unreal and putting it on our character. So what we're going to do here is we are going to add rig for animation, which is going to be our female character that we've been working with. So we're going to get her in here. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to import in some mocap data. You can find mocap data online. You may have a means of capturing motion capture data. What we want to do is make sure that mocap data is in a T-pose to start. It should reflect what your character's pose is. And here you can see we are in that classic T-pose stance. So this is what you're going to want your character to be in. Once your character is loaded in, let's go ahead and load up our picker that we created before in a previous video. This is so we can select different joints on the character and also set our IK/FK switches. It's looking like it's taking a second. There it goes. All right. So we're going to load in our picker. We are also going to load in our data. So what you want to do to load in your motion cap data once you have it, preferably it's an FBX. You can do BVH, but BVH will have to be taken into something else and spit out as an FBX. So in that regard, if you don't have mocap data, try to find motion capture data that is already in FBX. It could be, if you have here's the other thing that's cool about this setup is that if you have another character that is animated and you want to just transfer that animation over to another character, this works for that as well. So if you don't have motion capture data, reference in a character that has the animation on it that you want to use and you want to put it on your new character. I can show you how, and it's not about doing a crazy retargeting of anything. I'll show you how to do it. It's the same exact steps you're going to see here. I've done this with point data. I've done this with joint data. As long as there's a hierarchy, as long as there's motion on the hierarchy, we can get that onto another character. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. A lot of people make it super complicated, but it shouldn't be complicated at all with what I'm about to show you. So let's import in our data. I have this saved here. Navigate to where your motion capture data is. I do import. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to hide this. Oh, there's nothing on there. Let me put something on there. On that layer is what I'm talking about. Okay, I can't hide anything on it. Great, great, great. So let's just press H. Select your mesh, press H. Select the other mesh, press H. What we want to do is we have our character in here. What you can see in here currently is that we are in our IK for everything. IK arms, IK legs. We don't want to be an IK for the arms. IK feet is fine, but let's turn our arms to FK. The way you do that is you select here the S for the arm, and you go to your mode, which is 0. And now you will see that it has the FK joints on here so that we can actually plot to that. A lot of Mocap data works best with FK joints for the arms, unless you have it solved to work with IK. What we want to do also as well, our spine is IK. We want to turn that to FK. So for your spine, you want to go to your torso module right here, and you want to turn this to 0 as well. So now our rig is set up. Our control rig is set up. What we want to do next is we want to go to our animations tab. Once we're in our animations tab, we want to go up to constraint and we're going to be using point and orient constraint. So select the little box, make sure it says maintain offset. Perfect. That's what we want. Go to the orient one, maintain offset. Perfect. That's what we want. So this is what we're going to do for our steps. What the data is that I brought in, as you can see, are these points. So I have some FBX data that's motion capture data, but it was saved out as an FBX. The data is on each one of these locator joints that is in its own hierarchy. If I scrub through it, you see it moving. You should be able to see the points moving together. What we're going to do is we're going to orient and point constraint this to our rig, and our rig will take on that motion. Then we are going to bake the keys down on our motion and delete out the imported FBX data from the motion capture. And then our rig will be animated to what our data was. And then you can go in and clean it up after that. But what we're going to do is get this data on here and export it out, get it in an Unreal, and watch it animate on our character. So what you want to do first is you want to select the joints of the Mocap data first, one by one, and that's only going to be, I think like maybe 20 or something joints. It's not that big of a deal. So you select the one that corresponds to where you are. So this is our right foot. We're going to select our right foot and so on. I'll talk you through the whole process. So you want to select that first, and then you want to shift select the foot. Next thing you want to do is go to your constraint and do your point constraint. We already checked it to make sure it's set up correctly. And what you can see here with the blue, this is showing you that it's being influenced by something else. So this is being driven by this point right here. This is going to take on the same motion as this point or locator, but it's going to maintain its offset, meaning that it won't break our rig. It won't try to conform to the XYZ rotation and translate for what that point is. So again, select for the other leg, shift, constraint, point, constraint, orient. This is super easy. You know, it took some time for me to figure this out when I did it. I haven't seen anyone do any tutorials for this yet, you know, so I figured might as well just show people. what you want to do here, since this is your waist, this still will have translation and rotation. So you want to add that on there. Now this is where it doesn't get tricky, but you want to make sure you pay attention to what you're doing. You want to select, this is your first spine, and these are offset from where the actual spine joints are for my control rig. But you only want to do rotation data. You don't need to have positional data. When you think about those joints, everything from the spine up is all just a rotation value. So that's what we want to take from it. So we just want to do the orient. So same thing here, select the next joint, orient, and then you want to do the last one. Now there's more joints in our mocap data that I'm using than the joints I have in my character, which is fine. Just go up as far as it does with the spine, and that's totally fine. Now what you want to do here is, for the clavicles, you want to use point. You only want to use your points instead of your orient. Now we're going to go back into, these are our clavicle, not our clavicles, these are our upper arms. So you want to select your upper arm controller or FBX data or point or whatever, and then the arm, and you want to just use orientation as well. Same thing. This is your arm, this is your arm. Orient. Wrist, wrist. Constraint, orient. Same thing on the other side. So you want to select the data you want to drive from, and then the arm. One more time, we're going to do the data, where you're getting the data from, and where you want to put the data. Orient, where you're getting the data from, where you want to put the data. Orient. And then you have your neck joints. We only have one neck joint in our character and one head joint. So we're going to put this on our neck 01. We'll do orient. And then for our head, we'll put it right here. Orient. There you go. That's it. You're done. Now let's go back in our outliner and let's unhide our mesh. Close outliner. And now if you scrub through it, you're going to see your character moving. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Our character's moving. And what I'm seeing here is that I've noticed this before, and I'll show you why this is doing this. This is doing this because this right here is because there are values on this rig, which now I need to go back and fix, which are to the root joint, which is this joint right here. And so the further away you pull it from the root, the more it stretches. The way you fix that is you go in and you make sure there's no values of influence to the root joint. That's what's causing this right here. But if you move the character closer back to the root, it'll fix itself. So that is something that we need to go back and fix. And this is why you want to put mocap data or any type of data on here, range of motion or whatever. See, with the range of motion though, it's kind of tricky because you stay in the center of where your file is at, so you don't know if it's broken or not. But this mocap data just showed you that there's some issues on your upper thigh, and now you know to go fix it. Because if you see it in the engine, you'll be like, why is that doing that? This is why it's doing it. It's getting pulled too far away from its origin, period. Keep it close to the origin, no harm, no foul. But if you ever need to pull it away from the origin for whatever, you're going to get this stretchy craziness. But we're going to address that right now too. So we have our motion on here. We have our character moving. They're just falling down. So what we're going to do is we are going to key this onto our rig. So now we're going to go back over to our tool set, select our rig controls. We're going to select all of our controllers. And then we're going to bake down the animation. So let's click over on the little square next to bake animation. Once you're on here, just make sure it's not on start and end and it's just on time slider. If it's on time slider, it's going to go from 0 to whatever the end frame is, which is 828.91, which is what you want. So just want to click bake. It's going to go through fairly quickly, and it's going to bake all the motion down onto the control joints. And as you can see, the character stays together really well. It's really taking on the data well. It's working. Joints are moving as expected. It looks like there's going to be minimal cleanup. Obviously, the fingers, the hands, and from the looks of this, there's a little bit of elbow cleanup that you're going to probably want to do, along with if you're pushing up off the ground. Again, your mocap data is really going to be used to showcase things that you would feel is better captured through a performance of a mocap stage or a bodysuit that will save you time from doing it by hand. You'll still have to go in and clean it up, but it's a great way to proof out motion fast when you're in a prototyping phase and when you're doing a previs for something. If you are able to do it in mocap, you can do it a heck of a lot faster and iterate faster on changes from the directors or from your game designer. So now all the motion is on here. What we want to do next is we can close this window, open up here, select our reference. Our reference that's imported is our mocap data. We can delete that. We can just leave this how it is, but one thing I want to do to fix the stretchy hips is this. So we're going to go to Anim, our Anim tab down here, and what you can add here are animation layers. Animation layers are great for addressing animation being offset or changing an animation to fit better with another animation, meaning that you can select different parts and move them around and then rebake that animation out, and it propagates that new position of XYZ or rotation throughout the animation now. So that's what we're going to do. So let's just say we go from, we don't need the T-pose in there. Let's go from frame 80, 90. Let's go from frame 90. So we're going to go 90 all the way to frame 680. Now what we want to do is we want to add a layer. So you go here, click add a layer. We want to select the things that are IK, because those are things that we're going to move. We're going to select the feet one at a time, and then we're going to select this hip controller or this full body controller. Next thing we want to do is we want to go to our, hit W. We can bring that up. And then once that's brought up, we want to go to our tool settings, which is the hammer icon, and we want to go to world space. That's so we can move everything at once. I'm going to hit spacebar and go to my top view. And with all three of these selected, you want to go to your Anim layer 01, right click and go add selected objects. This blue shows you that it's being influenced by something else. In this case, it's being influenced by what changes you make in this animation layer. So now I can just click and drag everything down to be here, closer at the 000, the origin. And I'm just going to eyeball this here into the center. That's fine. All right, I'm going to go back to my perspective view. And I want to hit S. And then I want to merge my layers. And once I merge my layers, it's going to leave the character at the center, roughly at the center. And you'll see it will address, the legs already look back to normal. But the further the character does move off of the origin, you will start to see that the legs will still look stretchy until you change it in your rig file. So see, it's still stretchy. So what can we do to address that? Let's save this file out before we export it. Let's save this file out. Save scene. Save it where you've been saving everything else. Save it in your mocap test, though. So we'll do female base mesh mocap tests. All right. So let's go address these legs. We should be able to address these legs. It looks like the only thing that we see is that's messing up like that are the legs. All right. So we can come back to that file. Us coming back to this file later will show us that we did address this, and us fixing this now will be better for in the future as we continue on using this character to do our other animations and start working with. So let's go to new scene. Once the scene is new, we're going to go back up to our Art V2, and we are going to go to Edit Rig. Let's load in our female character. Then we want to go to the deformation tab. Deformation is the deformation toolkit. So we go to deformation toolkit. We have this open. Let's see if we can, I don't know if you can mount it in the scene. You can't. Great. Okay. Let's do this. Let me just modify my scene a little bit. All right, now what we want to do is we want to select our mesh. We see everything shows up on the side over here. We want to go to vertex mode. Let's hide some things just to make sure we can select things better. Let's hide our NURBS curves. All right, perfect. Now let's select the area that we know had the issue, which is this area right here. So you see it says the root. We just want to select the root and we want to turn that to 0. So go into your skin joints area and look for the root. It should be at the top. But if not, just look through here for the roots. Where is the roots? There it is. Root 0. Now it's all set to 0. Perfect. Now let's go back. Object mode. Well, what we want to do is show our NURBS curves again. And we want to just save this file. All right. This file is our file that we use as the base file when we bring in our character, add rig to scene or add animation rig to scene. That's what this does. So now we should be able to close this. Go back to our scene that we just had. So let's go to open. Let's go to our mocap test scene that we just had. Upon opening this, it's going to re-reference in the character, this character that we just updated with the updated skinning. And see, as you can see, the hips are fixed. That issue was just because there was still joints or still vertices looking for the root for influence. That's why I like to take the root out from the very beginning. It just looks like I probably missed area, or when I was doing paint weights for that area, it probably selected that root and gave the root a little bit of influence, which is fine because we know how to fix it. Easy. So now when you look at this, no more stretchy butt. Everything's working. All right. So the next step we want to do is, since we have this all baked down, let us, we need to close this. Great. It's still there. Awesome. Let us go into our windows, and we want to go to Animation Editors, Graph Editor. We want to delete the keys that we don't need. Again, we want to go back here to make our selection set from our rig controls, select everything. And what we want to do is we want to click drag, left click drag, select, and delete these keys that we don't need, because our timeline is going to be from 90 to 680. So we don't need all this extra in here. So we just want to delete it. The next thing we want to do, just to make sure things are as smooth as possible without us touching it or polishing it, go to our curves, and we're going to go to Euler Filter, or Euler Filter. It depends how you want to say it. Let's say Euler. The E is kind of silent. What that does is it just took and normalized our curves for us a little bit. You see these values up here? We had some curves that were going all over the place. With Mocap Data, it'll do whatever it does to make the motion look right. So if it's off by a full scale of rotation of 360 degrees, it may be up in the 700s or the thousands or what have you. It still will look right. It's just that it needs to be brought down so it's all kind of on the same plane. So we'll do that. We'll close this. Let's resave our file. Now we want to export this animation out. I believe we had some issues last time when we were exporting animations where this, oh, look. I don't think it exports stuff out. I'm not sure. Before we tried to do this, and it didn't export stuff out, we had to just export the animation out, the joints out on our own. So let's see if this is going to work. Maya scene, this export, and this was, we'll do mocap tests. .fbx exports. Save your file again, because before you hit export, if you don't have your file saved before you hit export on this window, it will go and revert to the last save, and which means you can lose a lot of work and lose a lot of stuff. So you want to make sure that you save and then you export. And this is what it's telling you here. Make sure the process is good. Perfect. Is it working? It looks like it's working. That's great. I think last time when we did our idle, we had to export it in some funky way. What that's telling me, let's see if it, okay, it says it's almost finished. Let's check and see if it exported first before I say anything else, because I might understand or know why it did that. What am I doing? I'm hanging out on here. No, wrong place. I'm showing you guys too much stuff. Let's go back. So we want to go here. We want to go here. Maya files. This export. See? Yep, it didn't export it. It did not export it. That sucks. So last time we exported this, I don't know why this exporter is not working. We just went ahead and, did we export the scene? Let me see. Let's go to Outliner. Let's go to, how do we export that? We had our mesh. We have it baked down. Then we just exported the scene. Let's see. File, export all. Let's go to LivAnimated. Export. I want to do mocap tests. All right. I think this is how we did it before. Let's see. Export all. If not, then we just exported, we selected and exported stuff, which is still fine. But so yeah, so now it's baking everything on there. And I don't think it takes the, we can actually open the file and see what it looks like first before we bring it into Unreal. But I think it's going to just bake it down to the joints. I don't think it's going to keep all the controls and all their stuff. Because once it gets baked down, it's good to go. I don't think we cleaned it up. There is another process too that I worked with before in the past. Oh man, we're at 24 frames. We need to change that to 30, but this is just a test, so it's fine. What you can do is you can go in once you have this exported like this, and you can actually go in and delete your namespace, delete all the extra joints and everything, and just leave the rig and the mesh in there, even though you just need the rig. The mesh is just for safekeeping, so you can see what your stuff looks like on a character. And then you bring that into your program, Unreal, and it's just like a normal FBX, even though you're exporting everything out the scene. I don't remember us exporting all this stuff like this, though. We might have just selected the mesh, because there's both meshes in there, and then we selected the rig, the joints. We'll see. We'll see how this looks, and then if this doesn't look correct, then we'll just export out. We'll select and export what we want out. All right, looks like it's still working. It's almost done. So we're just waiting right now for the animation to be exported so we can take it into our scene and apply it to our character. All right, it's writing the output file now. All right, so let's see if, let's open up Unreal. Let's see if that worked. There it is, mocap tests. So let's go to animation, bring in that animation. We want this to use our female base mesh rig. So it's going to ask you, or it should ask you, which rig you want to apply this to. So there we go. Import. We're just waiting for this to import. We should be able to drag into our scene and see it animate. It'll just loop for now because it's just an animation. It's not going to be set up inside of any blueprints or anything right now. And it's probably taking its time to import because it was a couple hundred, like 800 something frames or 600 something frames. We can also open it up in here and see what it looks like. So if we do new scene, it's FBX, so let's do import, mocap test, import. All right, it looks like it's working. To get the file in. Let's go back to Unreal, see if that has set up. Fail to merge bones. This could happen. Significant hierarchy changes have been. See, so yeah, they're warning dismay and value required correction of animation data. So this is because we exported everything. So we'll do no to all. We do not want to regenerate the skeleton from that mesh. So yeah, I think it just crashed. It did not like that. So yeah, that is not what we want to do, because you can see right here already, it did bring in everything. So that is not what we want to do. So let's go back to our character. Mocap tests, open. We just want to select the mesh and the joints. Let's actually open up the one that we did export, which is the idle. Not open, but import. New scene. Import. I just want to see what it looks like, because that is unfortunate. We're going to have to export from the other scene. Yes, see, it's just the mesh. And what did I select? The base female mesh root. All right, cool. So that's what we want to select. So let's go back to open. Mocap tests. Female mocap test. Open. Don't save. Let's reopen our Unreal Library project. So we'll have that open in the background. All right, so we want to export this, and that. And we'll do export selection. And we'll go back to export mocap tests. Export selection, yes. So this will bake the keys onto the joints of what we have selected. And it should just bring in the mesh and the joints. And it shouldn't bring in the controllers. Now those controllers being a part of the rig on export is what would make those hierarchical changes that Unreal was talking about, which is not what we want. So it looks like it baked the animation and everything should be good. FBX plugin does not support assets created with advanced asset menu. Now I can't remember if we had to change that to be not 2018 but like 2016, but we'll see. So now we're here. We'll go back to animation. Let's open up our file. Timestamp is correct. That was a lot faster, which is good. Import all. Oh, that's new. I don't think it did that before. That's good. We don't need all that stuff. But whatever. I think that was my fault. Let's actually do that over. Let's do that over. I don't want to show you how to do that the wrong way. So I'm deleting all of that. Delete all that stuff out. Delete all that. Delete. You don't want all that stuff in there like that. I think I didn't click on something. So go back to add this again. All right. So this is what I didn't click. We don't need the mesh. We just need the skeleton, which is this. So you don't need the mesh. The mesh, we're getting it from somewhere else. We're getting it from our rig that we brought in. We just want the joint data. And because it's the joint data using the same thing, there you go. You only get this. That's all you want. You don't need all that other crap. So now we have this in here. Let's click save. And now let's click play. Oh no. We got butt problems. No. We need to go see if those butt problems were saved on. Oh, I know why. Those butt problems are not updated because we didn't update our rig. we updated our rig, but we didn't re-export our rig. So because we see that, again, I'm going to show you how to fix that. You know, we already fixed it in our file so it works, but we need to fix it in our rig that's exported into Unreal, which has not been updated. We only updated it in Maya itself. So we need to do that for it to work. So save this how it is. Everything should be good. So we're going to save all. So it's nothing to worry about. We're going to go and fix this problem right now. Let's close this and go back into Maya. No, we don't need to go back into Maya. Yes, we do. We need to go back into Maya and we need to go to a new scene. We've already saved our data out. We just need to re-export it. So now we want to, let's close all this extra stuff that we have open. We want to go to Art V2. We want to go to Edit Rig. And we want to select our female. Again, we've already made the changes to this and it looks right in Maya. We just need to make the changes and export it out so it's in Unreal. All right, so now what we want to do is we just want to export skeletal meshes. And we're going to re-export the skeletal mesh that has the underwear and the skin for now. When we get ready to make our character blueprints and our animation blueprints, we'll separate them out so we can have the interchangeable clothes or no clothes for the character. So you just want to move this to the side. You want to go to your outliner and you want to shift click on root, select all your joints, and then you want to control click on your mesh. Sorry, my mustache is tickling my nose. Now what you want to do is you want to export selected. And you want to export selected onto the rig file. I mean, we can export both of these again while we're here. So yes, we should do that. We should do that because we already brought those into our scene. We want to re-update those as well. So we'll do the rig. The rig is the one with both. So we'll do export selection. Yes. All right. Now we want to do the same thing and just have our base mesh. And we want to export selection, and this will be our naked. And now we want to do the one with the clothes. And this is going to be our outfit. And so we want to export selected here. This will be our underwear one. All right, awesome. You don't need to save this. Just close this window here. It'll take you back to your control rig file that you have. And we just want to go right back into Unreal. So let's open up Unreal again. I think my double click was a tad late. I'm not sure though. Yeah, I think it was. There we go. Yeah, once that's like that, let's just get out of there, do new scene, just so we don't have it open. All right, so again, let's look at this again to make sure our butt is still messed up. Stretchy butt, yes. All right, so let's go to rig. Let's go to our file setup. And we want to go to our exports. Yep, right there. And what we want to do is we want to bring in, we want to close this. We want to delete this. This was just for temp. All right. We want to bring in those files. So we want to re-bring in our rig, our naked rig, and our underwear. It should just update. There you go. Perfect. Updated successfully, it said. So we have 1, 2, and 3. Save. Now we shouldn't have stretchy butt anymore. So let's click play and go over here to see. No more stretchy butt. Yay! There you go. There's your animation playing. So you can already see the possibilities if you have the ability to use mocap. Do this same setup over and over and over again. Use this as reference, as a guide to get the mocap data onto your character. I will be going over how to set up the character later. We will be going into animation from this point. I hope you guys learned something new, guys, gals, people. I hope you all learned something new. This is really fun for me. Please drop me a line if you have any questions or if I can help you out in any way. Awesome. Thank you very much.